Train to the End, Episode 9 review. Youka's reintroduction. We finally get a proper look into Ikebukuro in Episode 9 of The Train to the End of the World. We start off with Youka waking up in a room and getting spoken to her by her guard, who I will refer to as Pochi, quote unquote, so in quotations, so as to not cause confusion with our doggo. Pochi, I'm thinking, is definitely not a normal human. He's named after a dog while having many mannerisms that would fit a dog, like having a watchdog role that promotes Yuka's safety above all else, while being very direct and orders focused. He says he's taken on a larger body now, and Pantaro would punish him by taking his chow away. He definitely seems to be a dog transformed into a human, so we'll have to see how much this goes further as we learn more about his character. So the classroom Youka is taught in by Pochi, and it has 5 chairs, despite Youka being the only student. These 5 chairs fit for her plus our 4 main girls. Based on what we see from Pochi and Pontaro, it is strange that they would allow this reference to the past be allowed. Youka is getting glimpses, so perhaps this setup made her more comfortable deep down, but on the surface she wasn't sure why. Maybe this is minor enough that Pontaro was not concerned, and used it to keep the balancing act of appeasing her while hiding things. They want her to have the normalcy of school to help keep her pacified. So Youka is clearly not in a great mental space right now. She's very spacey, pun intended, taking a lot of time to think before speaking and reacting, while not having a proper understanding of who she is and the situation that she's in. She's mostly just going through the motions, focusing on the usual day-to-day activities, and seemingly not thinking about much else. She has some moments of recollection, but those are generally fleeting moments. Based on what she says about Ikebukuro, she seems torn between what she can remember. She has some memory, as she would not be able to have a contradicted expectation of Ikebukuro if she didn't, because then she wouldn't have a reference point if she didn't remember anything before this. So she can barely remember the details of her usual day, as she couldn't remember Puntaro's fake persona as the mayor, despite seeing him a lot based on their dialogue. She may be able to remember her more important memories if she constantly worked at it, but she has a force against that. And said negative force is our tech bro Pontaro, which, to be very clear, I am intending as an insult. Now that we've spent a lot of time with him, I have no reservations about giving him that label. He recklessly pursues his technology, ignoring the dangers initially, and then even after all the stuff has happened, he still sticks with this. He does not want to take any blame or face any consequences, which is what would happen if things did go back to normal. He's so committed to this that he would rather everything stay terrible than come clean and have any kind of repercussion. He's a con man acting like a showman, flying by the seat of his pants while trying to act like he has things under control. He will do whatever it takes to get what he wants, whether it's lying, sucking up to Youka with lavish compliments, or directly hurting others. The big lie here is the cover story Pontaro has made for Youka. He is trying his best to keep her from regaining her memories. Whenever something Agano related comes up, he starts blabbering on, which succeeds in 2 ways, as for his character. It works as a way to mentally overload Youka, so she has trouble holding on to what she's trying to remember because of all just like the verbal vomit. And it also serves as Pontaro trying to make himself sound smart by being unnecessarily descriptive, which is also a method of the tech bro type, reward vomiting to keep people from realizing that they're just talking out of their butt, and shamelessly sucking up to people if they think it will benefit them. So I am being pretty harsh here on the tech bros, but yeah, I'm happy to see criticisms of this type of person in an anime, because I definitely was not expecting to see Silicon Valley type tech bro stuff in criticism and poking fun in an anime, but this anime does have so many like Western and especially American references, so it's not crazy surprising. At one point, we see Youka hooked up to a big machine, which seems like it was right after the 7G button press based on the dialogue around it. A thought that came to my mind is that they did the procedure they did to Senjiro, like the wibbly wobbly syndrome procedure, but I don't think so. I think it's more likely that machine was monitoring her health more than anything, specifically her brain. In this part, we get to learn more about Youka's situation now. So, let's lay out what Youka seems capable of now as the trigger and the princess slash queen slash witch of Ikebukuro. Youka can seemingly directly control reality. She seems like she may be 7G itself, perhaps. She's able to alter her surroundings, such as bringing space closer. She's able to change people on a radical level, including herself. Youka turns a dude into custard, and then Pontaro eats him. So yeah, I really don't think this guy is going to be redeemed. And maybe I'm just being harsh, but to use his own verbiage in this episode, he is pretty unforgivable. He literally eats a dude. She is also able to change herself, growing her hair when she was thinking about the past. I just do think that's notable, that it's not just a world, she can affect herself, which could come into play if we have some kind of big action scene, if she becomes very much self loathing, anything like that. She seems to not like when things are quieter, which I think is because it makes her feel alone. She may not fully remember everything from the past, but that quietness may bring up feelings of her breakup with Shizuru. Because that event made her leave for Ikebukuro alone and leave her friends behind, so that made her sad. That left her with the feeling deep down of being sad, even if she doesn't properly remember that. Her powers seem most connected to her emotions. When she felt happy, she brought space closer, as her dream involved space. When she felt sad, her hair grew to cover more of her body, like hiding herself away. When she was angry over the guy contradicting the Ikebukuro story that Buntaro has been selling her, she transforms him and he gets eaten. So we do not have a great grasp of Pontaro's plan right now, but it may be as simple as keeping the status quo so that he can just do what he wants. To make a prediction, I definitely think the final conflict will come down to Shizuru reminding Youka of her dream and encouraging her. It seems like a clear direction for the characters to reconcile, and talking things out is definitely the only way to combat Youka, considering she literally has control over reality. Like, you really can't fight back against a reality bender unless you can bend reality yourself. Shizuru will have to bring Youka back down to Earth, literally, and by the climax, maybe even literally, knowing this show. I would not be surprised if they literally end up in the heights of space. Another prediction is that quote-unquote Pochi will likely fight the girls at first in order to protect Youka, but then back down once he learns more about the girls. His main purpose is to protect the princess, so if he believes that the girls are acting in her best interest, which contextually I would say that they are, especially once they learn about everything that's going on, he can follow that order because he seems to be a very orders-focused person without stopping the girls. Because if Ikebukuro is going to be destroyed because of everything that's going on, or she's going to end up hurting herself, then he can protect the girls. Then he can protect her by not standing against the girls. One last notable detail I want to talk about is the 7G button being in Yoka's room. If it was not important at all, it really wouldn't need to be there specifically. Like, it could just still be in that same spot it was before, because that building might still seems like it's probably intact. But if it still had its powers, I can't imagine why Pontaro would leave it in her hands with no direct supervision. Because Pochi's around, but like he came in from outside. It's not like he's sleeping in the same room as her, literally watching her 24/7. And there's no implications of cameras or anything like that. Maybe he leaves it there as a reminder to Youka, since she has trouble remembering things now. If Youka has all the power, then the button likely no longer has functionality. I want to bring up a point that I did previously about how the button was pressed twice. And I really wanted to talk about that this episode since we had so much focus on the powers and the effects, but I really couldn't find any info that related to that idea. Maybe the second button press brought the power into her. Maybe it could be that. Or maybe in the end, this favorite detail of mine will end up being a red herring that doesn't matter that much. Or maybe it was just a visual thing that I misunderstood. But for now, I'll stick with it and we'll see. So that's it for the first half of the episode. The latter half of the episode goes back to the main group, but it's not especially notable and I don't have a whole lot to say about it. The main event is the girls meeting the hermit again and getting some more info. The main lore info is that the mini-scientist was able to get more info from Zenjiro. Pontaro indeed has evil plans, and if he isn't stopped, the world could be destroyed. Apparently there is cosmic expansion that likely links with the dark matter stuff that the people in Ikebukuro have been detecting. I don't have much scientific knowledge and don't have a lot to say about it, just because this is a lot of theoretical science kind of stuff that they're starting to preach into, and that's not particularly my thing. So hopefully all that stuff will end up being interesting. But the main thing is that now I think this part just was meant to say that both sides have similar pieces of information. Not all the exact information, but both sides know that cosmic shenanigans are going on that is threatening the world. That's what I'm taking from this. So we have the Hermit, the people in Kaburkuro, and Zenshiro all learning cryptic info in different ways, like I just said, but all of it leads to a similar conclusion, which is that bad stuff's going to happen if things stay the same. But obviously, Puntaro doesn't seem interested in things changing because it would, in the traditional sense, because it would go against his control. So yeah, this episode had a lot of exposition and setup, but I don't mind as we've had a lot of action-packed episodes, and this stuff in Igabokuro is the stuff I really wanted to get into. I think it was a good choice to not leave all of this Ikebukuro stuff just for the end. I think it was good to give us a good taste of it in this episode. And it does not hold back on the craziness either. Like, yeah, we've got reality warping powers and people turning into food and dogs being turned into humans, seemingly. And Potaro's just an insane asshole. So, yeah, we still got tons of fun zaniness that the show is great at doing. So, I'm sure we'll get some more action from the next episode, since Potaro has Shinamachi, who is likely our next villain, lying in wait for the Katan gang. So, yeah, let's see what we'll get next episode. Thank you very much for listening.